G'day everyone, it's Raphael here. Now, if you've seen my previous video about the Amazon Kindle Scribe and my views on it as a lawyer, first, thank you so much. I'm totally overwhelmed with your support and your comments. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend you watch it because this video is essentially going to be a part 2 where I give you my thoughts on the Kindle Scribe and how it compares to the ReMarkable Paper Pro. Now, you might have noticed that I'm not holding either of these devices up. I don't have the ReMarkable Paper Pro or the Kindle, and that is because the too long didn't read version of this story is that I've returned both. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why, and I'm also going to tell you why that even though these devices didn't necessarily work out for me, they actually might work out for you. Let's first compare the pair, because even though both devices are marketed in a similar way, and the average consumer is likely to consider both devices, they are actually designed to do different things. The Amazon Kindle Scribe is a reading first and a writing second device, and the ReMarkable Paper Pro is a writing first and a reading second device. And you can easily see this by the physical profile of the two devices. Now, the Kindle Scribe has a 10.2-inch display and weighs around 433 grams. Now, in contrast, the ReMarkable Paper Pro has a larger 11.8-inch display and weighs around 525 grams. Now, with these numbers alone, you probably won't be able to appreciate the nuance and the material difference between the two, but I'll tell you, it's significant in real life. Because for me, if I was only focused on writing only, I would not consider the Scribe at all, because I prefer to have a larger canvas to write on, especially if I'm trying to mimic writing on a typical A4 size piece of paper. At the same time, I didn't find any joy reading the ReMarkable for long stretches of time because it's too big and too heavy, especially when you compare it against a dedicated ebook reader, which is lighter, smaller, and more agile. However, if we switch it up, the Scribe is just at the cusp of being the largest screen size that I would find comfortable to read on, especially for novels. And that's bolstered by the fact that it is lighter and has a nicer feeling metal casing, which feels very premium and comfortable to hold. And to say the obvious, it has the ebook store to purchase books on the fly. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room because there has been some controversies by Amazon and the Kindle store, with Amazon removing the download and transfer via USB feature. And I know some of my new followers aren't too happy with these changes, and I'm not happy either. But for the purposes of this review, let's consider the Kindle store to be a positive feature, because the fact remains you have access to millions of books at your fingertips with the Kindle store. Now, with the ReMarkable, you don't have access to the Kindle store, and matter of fact, you don't have access to any store. If you want to read anything, you need to manually download the ebook or PDF to your device. The other way you can tell that the Amazon Kindle Scribe is a reading first and writing second device, and the Kindle Paper Pro is a writing first and reading second device, is by the individual software. Now, this is where the Scribe really annoyed me, because even though the Amazon store page shows all these videos and photos of people writing and drawing on the Scribe, you have to go through several pages from the Scribe's homepage in order to access your notes. It's even worse when you try to access your notes on your phone or your computer, because you need to go to the More tab, and then just above Sync and Settings, you will find an icon called Notebooks, and that is where you can access your notes. So all of this to say is that writing notes is a secondary feature on the Scribe, and it's built as an additional feature to the primary purpose, which is for the user to read books. On the other hand, as I said, there isn't any ebook store on the ReMarkable. So when you turn the ReMarkable on, you are straight away brought to your documents and notes. And to give the ReMarkable some credit, the menu is pretty organized. And if you do have an ebook downloaded or a PDF, you can easily access it from the front menu. So now that we understand the primary purpose of each device, you have to ask yourself, what is your purpose? Not in a philosophical or metaphysical sense, but do you want a device you can write on and take notes, or do you want a device to read on, or maybe you want both? For me, I'm a commercial lawyer, and I've elaborated in my previous video, but I spend a lot of my day in meetings where I'm handwriting notes, often in shorthand form, and then I spend the rest of my day on my computer doing legal research, drafting advice, emailing, calling people, and then of course it's a whole different ball game when I have to go to court. So what I'm actually looking for is a replacement to my compendium, which is essentially just a paper notebook like this. And this is my leather compendium that I have from OrbitKey with a notebook right there. So, instead of having a compendium and, having a paper and pen, what I'm really looking for is a single electronic notebook that is clean and minimalistic, and it feels like I'm actually writing on a piece of paper. And that's the benefit that I get from this, is that I would never have to have multiple notebooks stacked around my office, and I have an organized electronic record of all my notes, which also means I can access these notes from any place, anywhere. And that's the reason why I settled on the Amazon Kindle Scribe and the ReMarkable Paper Pro. That is a primary purpose of mine, and that is what I'm going to use to judge these devices on. So how did I assess this? I've decided to break down my review / comparison / critique / rant on 3 assessment criteria, that being price, functionality, which includes both hardware and software, and then finally, ease of use, including how it feels and how useful these devices are day to day. And I think the latter is really the most important one, because your feelings towards the device ultimately will determine whether you keep it or not. So let's get into it. Price. Now, both of these devices are too expensive for what they bring to the table. It doesn't matter how you cut it, there is no fiscal justification for getting any of these devices, especially the ReMarkable. Now, I spent $1,249 on the ReMarkable Paper Pro. Now, whilst this was for the bundle where I got the ReMarkable Paper Pro, I got the leather book folio, and then I got the marker pen plus. That's a lot of money for a device where all you can do is just write on it like a $2 Bic and, a 50-cent piece of paper. And guess what? If you want to type on it, well, you can buy a keyboard, but that's going to cost you $379. So that's expensive. Now, if you look at the Kindle Scribe, that's cheaper. I spent $729 for the top spec, and it's only in this variant that allows you to have that beautiful metallic jade color. And also, if we do a like for like, and you get the official Kindle Scribe folio, then that's going to cost you $159.95. And just an FYI, all of these are in Australian dollars, but the differential still applies whether you're talking about USD, pounds, or euro. Now, I would say, if you want to get the minimum storage for the Kindle Scribe and not worry about getting an official case, the price drops to $649. Now, that's way more palatable. But regardless, all of this is still expensive, especially when you can get an iPad brand new for $599 and then get the cheapest Apple Pencil for, I guess, around $139. Now, that bundle is going to be slightly more than the Kindle Scribe, but the Apple iPad can do a lot more than either of these devices. And you know what? That's what you need to appreciate. The ReMarkable Paper Pro and the Kindle Scribe are not devices that are considered bang for your buck. And me, I'm a commercial lawyer and I teach people about financial literacy and personal finance. And I need to stress that these are not must-have tech items. In fact, they're probably closer to a Veblen good because you are paying more for less. And the utility that you do get is very exclusive and finite, and only a very few people will see value in it. To analogize this, it's like comparing an Apple Watch to a Rolex. Now, the Rolex is significantly more expensive and has significantly less utility. However, some people are drawn to horology and history and the mechanics of a mechanical watch, and I dare say it, perhaps the pretentiousness of owning a Rolex, and they're willing to spend a significant amount of money on an expensive watch. So with the ReMarkable and the Kindle, you have to figure out whether you fit in and within the buyer's description. Because for most people, by virtue of the price, do not, and that is okay. Because I guess in the end, price is always going to be a subjective thing. But as a side to the ReMarkable, what I don't appreciate is how heavy the ReMarkable Paper Pro is being marketed by the company, particularly via YouTube tech reviewers. Now, if you search on YouTube right now, it's so difficult to find a bona fide review because all these reviewers have been paid by the ReMarkable team to make a video on it. And that alone isn't a problem. In fact, I would love for ReMarkable to sponsor me because what you'll find out is that in this review, I actually really like the ReMarkable Paper Pro. But I've been so put off by these tech reviewers saying how amazing the ReMarkable tablet is and how it's changed their life and how they use it constantly in their workflow to make videos. Because when you watch their other videos and their later videos where they talk about the day in their life or what's in my backpack or a video on how they make content, the ReMarkable Paper Pro is never mentioned. It's like it doesn't exist at all. And this is frustrating because now I don't know what the truth is. What's truth? What is fiction? And it becomes a bigger issue when a college student or even just an ordinary, everyday person gets into the trap of thinking that if the ReMarkable has changed the life of this tech reviewer, then it will change their life as well. And as a lawyer who's been involved in many cases of misleading and deceptive conduct and puffery, when you are making a purchasing decision, please never buy into the hype of the phrase, "This will change your life." Rarely, if ever, does anything change your life. And when it does, the company selling the product does not need an advertising budget to relay that message. So the conclusion is, the ReMarkable and the Kindle they're just too expensive. You're better off with a cheap ebook reader, a notebook, and a ballpoint pen. However, if you can honestly look in the mirror and say that you are ready, willing, and able to spend all this money, then keep watching. So what are you actually getting for your money? Well, there's two parts to this. External, i.e. the physical hardware, and internal, the software. With respect to external, I've no qualms at all. If anything, both ReMarkable Paper Pro and the Kindle Scribe have amazing build quality. You're not getting cheap plastic, you're getting metal with solid buttons, a great screen, and an overall great feel in hand. They both feel very premium, and I don't think there's a clear winner. Both are amazing. The only difference is perhaps the pen and the screen feel. Now, this is one of these things where it's so hard to articulate and verbalize. Quite frankly, you need to try it for yourself. But the way I can describe it is that the ReMarkable feels like you're writing on a single piece of paper over a glass table. So there's friction and I guess some grittiness, but it's still hard. Now, the Kindle, on the other hand, feels like writing on like laminated paper, or maybe like a piece of paper covered in cling wrap. So this really means, I hope that analogy makes sense, but this really means that the ReMarkable is a little bit more firm. There isn't that bounce that you would feel when writing on a stack of paper, whilst the Kindle feels like it has less drag and is more smooth and somewhat slick and has less resistance. But in the end, I think it really depends on what you prefer, because for me, it was quite interesting because I got the Kindle Scribe before I even thought about getting the ReMarkable, and I fell in love with the writing experience. In fact, when I then got the ReMarkable Paper Pro, I hated it. And I remember feeling I remember feeling disappointed the first time I wrote on the ReMarkable because I much rather prefer the Scribe. But then I started using both, and eventually the tables just turned and they just stayed turned. And now I really, really like writing on the ReMarkable Paper Pro. The thing that I want to mention is that the ReMarkable Paper Pro doesn't have a white screen. Now, most ebook readers, they don't have a completely white screen, but the ReMarkable Paper Pro has a darker gray screen than what I was actually expecting. It was actually noticeable when you really put the Kindle Scribe and the ReMarkable Paper Pro together. And I don't really like it. I wish it was more white. But on the plus side, the ReMarkable has released a new software update to brighten up the screen, so that should be a less of an issue going forward, but if you are very particular, this might be a factor in your decision. Now, on the software side, that is where things are different, and I'm going to be open and honest. That is what we do on this channel. If you're looking solely at writing notes on the Kindle, the software on the Kindle is a big F. I mentioned at the beginning how Amazon really tacked on the writing functionality to the Kindle Scribe. Yes, it's great to take notes if you're reading your favorite novel, but if you're wanting to make separate notes, the software is lazy. There's too many steps to access the notes and just not enough organization of these notes. And this is both on the device and when you're trying to access these notes on your phone or computer. The ReMarkable, on the other hand, is organized really well. Your notes are where you expect them to be, and it's also quite intuitive in terms of design layout. When it comes to making notes, you have way more functions and tools at your fingertips, and not to mention, it's a color display. So you can actually highlight and have different pens in different colors. Now, it's not going to be as bright and vibrant like an OLED display, and there's this annoying refresh that happens on the screen every time you use color, as opposed to just using black ink. But you do get used to it quite quickly. But if this is something you don't really realize until you actually have the device, which is why I say, if you can, try out the 100-day trial period on the ReMarkable, and maybe if you can, try out the Kindle Scribe so you can see it for yourself. If we go back to the Kindle Scribe, well, again, this doesn't have color. So this, again, might be a make or break for you. And for me, color is actually really important because, again, I'm trying to mimic using a pen and paper, and I like different colored pens and being able to highlight so as to better organize my notes. Another thing about functionality is that the ReMarkable constantly updates their firmware. And this isn't just bug fixes, they're actually bringing extra functionality. So for example, there was a recent update where you're now able to further increase the screen brightness, and they've also added a new template library, which is so good. So you can obviously buy templates from Etsy and then upload it to the device as a PDF. But with a template library, you can now set as a default whatever template you want when you create a new note. The only negative about all of this, and of course there's negatives, there's pros and cons, is that this is behind a subscription paywall. So you have to subscribe to the Connect subscription, which costs $29.90 per year, and that's USD. Which in the scheme of things isn't too bad because it does give you access to these templates, secured cloud storage, and essentially gives you what is extra warranty. And to be honest with you, all of this is functionality that you can't even buy with the Scribe, even if you wanted to pay for it. And for me, cloud storage is incredibly important. And having an app that is constantly synced up and updated makes it a breeze to see my notes and interact with my notes when I don't have my ReMarkable on me. And it goes even further because I can actually add to my already drafted notes with the ReMarkable app. So that means I can add more typed text. There's a selector tool where I can move my pen markings around. I can convert handwritten text to notes. I can switch between different layers. I can also add more pages and type extra notes to what I've already written. And because it constantly syncs up automatically, I don't have to worry about my notes not syncing. Again, I'm going back to my needs and the price proposition. And I'm thinking, if I'm paying all this money, what can an e-ink device do over my analog, pen and paper? And I think the ReMarkable, it does a lot. With the Kindle, you can't do anything with your notes. And the only thing you can do is have your notes be backed up. But you can't do anything with it. And it also doesn't look that great. It doesn't have a great user experience design. You can't preview your notes, and there's no import function in the app. It's very, very bare boned. Now, of course, going back to the elephant in the room, what does the Kindle have? Well, it has the Kindle Store. And look, I love it. And I respect the fact that the Kindle Store is the OG. This is the reason why so many of us have been able to have the privilege of reading. And I still have the original Kindle Oasis, which has free internet, and it baffled my mind when I first got it because I could be anywhere in the world and I could download a book from the Kindle Store without having to hotspot from my phone or purchase expensive data when I'm overseas. It was brilliant. Until this day, the Kindle Store is incredibly popular, and quite frankly, even with the changes that Amazon have now codified, it is the easiest way to download and read a book. And it is also more functional if you are already in the Kindle ecosystem. And I am, which means that I like having my novels sync up between different devices. And what I'm actually trying to do nowadays is spend less time on social media and more time being quote unquote productive. So for example, if I'm in a line at the bank and it's a massive line, instead of me just standing there and scrolling through social media, I'm actually opening up my Kindle Store, the Kindle app on my phone, and I start reading. And I think this is brilliant because that's kind of the reason why I like the Kindle Scribe, because I can easily just whip open a book after 20 minutes of note taking, and this is really good because it means I don't pick up my phone. With ReMarkable, you can also upload a PDF or an EPUB book, but you don't get access to the sync functionality, which may be an issue if you're constantly moving between different devices. And also the size and weight, look, it really isn't that comfortable to hold for long durations at times. And also you can get a cheap ebook reader. If you're already spending $1,250, why not spend an extra $50 on a used Kindle and then get the best of both worlds? And you know what? I'm half joking because there's a little bit of truth in this, because the Kindle product line is amazing. It is my preferred ebook reading system. And even right now, I have the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition and the Kindle Oasis. But if we move on to seeing how these devices feel and how useful they are day to day, I really question the purpose of the Kindle Scribe. Now, the Kindle Scribe is a great ebook reader because it has a bigger screen, but that's it. It isn't waterproof like the Kindle Paperwhite, so you can't take it to the beach or the pool or even anywhere where there might be dirt. And that's something that I really like about my Kindle Paperwhite. I can take it everywhere. It's so small, it's so lightweight that I never have to debate as to whether I should bring it along on a trip. It just comes with me everywhere and anywhere. The Scribe, on the other hand, it cannot. One, it's very expensive, so I'm going to be very cautious about it, and I'm not going to be callous in the way I treat it. And I definitely won't just shove it in my backpack or put it in a beach bag nonchalantly. Also, it isn't waterproof, which means I will always end up bringing my Kindle Paperwhite with me because that's the only device that I'll be able to take with me to the beach or any kind of precarious setting. So that means I'll always have a dedicated ebook reader with me. So what benefit does the Kindle Scribe give me? Well, I already have a device that I can read from, so that means I need a device that I can write on. But again, the Kindle Scribe is subpar. Its file management organization system is so underdeveloped, and the way that Amazon decided to half-bake the note-taking system by hiding the ability to access your notes and making it so that you need to go through several steps before you can even see your notes does not give me confidence for me to store my precious notes on this system. Also, the notes themselves, they look subpar. There are very limited options that you have when writing notes when it comes to pen styles and templates, and the size of the paper is also too small given the nib size of the pen. Now, with traditional paper, you have the option of being able to use whatever pen you want, including different nib sizes. But with the Kindle and the ReMarkable, you don't have the same dexterity because it's an electronic device, so it's limited by pixel size. So that means when you're writing on the Kindle Scribe with the official stylus that is included, you can't really write in small lettering. And this is a problem that's semi-alleviated with the ReMarkable because it's got a bigger screen, and the pen tip and the different screen texture makes me personally feel that I can write smaller compared to my Scribe. And of course, when I import my notes from both devices, I really appreciate what the ReMarkable gives me, and I really hate what the Kindle Scribe gives me. One plus that the Kindle has is the ability to write on books. I don't really like the way it's done though. So the way the Kindle does it is that it uses the active canvas. So when you handwrite text, it moves the words on the book to fit in your writing. So on one hand, this means that you can see your handwriting more clearer without it interfering with the words of the text. At the same time, it feels a little unnatural compared to what is traditionally done, where you write in the margin of a book. With a ReMarkable, you can do this because there isn't an ebook store, so you'll have to download a PDF. But aside from that, to be honest with you, I've never been the type to actively write all over my novels with a pen. So if that's something that you do, again, figure out what you're actually seeking from these devices, because then you'll be able to see what works and what doesn't. But one thing that I do is annotate PDFs, and these are normally scientific papers. I'm going to be blunt in this. If this is your primary purpose, just get an iPad. I've seen so many posts on the internet about people wanting to get a ReMarkable or Kindle Scribe to annotate PDFs, and this is pointless. The iPad does PDF annotations infinitely more better than the Scribe or the ReMarkable could ever do for several reasons. Now, first, this is an e-ink display. So e-ink displays, by virtue of its technology, are laggy. So when you're working with a PDF, you have to remember that there's often a degree of manipulation. So you're zooming in and you're zooming out, you're flicking from page to page, and I guarantee that if you spend a day annotating PDFs on an e-ink device, you'll end up throwing it in the bin. And if you don't, then you just live under a bridge because you have not seen how slow that workflow is compared to using an iPad or another tablet or heck, even a computer. And it's even more frustrating when dealing with a PDF that has color. Now, this already means that the Kindle Scribe is out of question. But with ReMarkable, there's this constant screen refresh whenever there is color on the screen. And you also won't get the same veracity of colors because the device has very muted colors, which also means that you can't really see the actual color scheme. And this might be important if you're working on marketing materials, for example, or when color is a big deal. So, where does this leave us? Now, again, it just goes back to the idea of price proposition and perceived value. So, the Scribe feels really good in the hand. I appreciate the extra screen real estate when reading books, but unlike its brother, the Kindle Paperwhite, it is not waterproof, it doesn't have the same lightweight feel, and when it comes to note-taking, it falls way behind the ReMarkable. It should not be an option if you're serious about note-taking at all. The only way I perceive value in the Kindle Scribe is that you only seek to make notes on books. And even then, it's a bit questionable. But if you're making standalone notes, then the ReMarkable Paper Pro is infinitely better in all ways. Now, the ReMarkable Paper Pro, well, that has serious flaws. Mainly its price. You know, in the end, it's like an electronic notebook and you're paying serious money for that. And you know what, that's where I'm stumped, because I really, really like the ReMarkable. You see, it's been nearly a month since I returned the ReMarkable and the Scribe, and during this time I had my wedding and honeymoon, and I had a great opportunity to relax and not worry about work. But now I am back at work, and I don't miss the Scribe one bit, but I really miss the ReMarkable Paper Pro. I miss having the concise, organized system for my notes, where instead of having all these random paper on my desk and all these random pens and highlighters, I have one singular device that is on my tablet stand on my desk, and that is where I take any and every handwritten note. And I also miss the always on display, because what I used to do is that every morning I'd write a to-do list, and then with yours on display, that to-do list will always be showing on the ReMarkable tablet. And I would just place it on the tablet stand, which is this tablet stand, and it's going to be on my desk, and I will always have that visible in front of me. And it's great because it was a constant reminder of what I had to get done. And because it's an electronic tablet, I always had a record of this list wherever I went. The other issue that I've had is that I've had a major annoyance with my iPad Pro. So I'm going to tell you what the issue is. So I have a matte screen on the iPad Pro. One, I don't like having a matte screen on the iPad Pro because it ruins the display. This is the M4 iPad Pro 13-inch. It has a beautiful OLED display. Having a matte screen protector just ruins the whole thing. But the other thing I don't like about the matte screen display, because the whole purpose is so I could write on it with the Apple Pencil, is that it doesn't have the same feel. It's still too slippery. And what I end up with when I'm writing quickly on it is that my handwriting's like chicken scratch. And also, when I'm trying to take notes on it, there's too much lag trying to open up the iPad and then trying to get to the right app. And with the ReMarkable, all I had to do was just open the folio cover and I'm merely brought to my notes with a brand new note page to write on. And this really goes back to the idea of having a dedicated device. Now, a dedicated device will always perform better than a multi-function tool. It's like comparing a standard Phillips screwdriver to a Swiss Army knife. Now, a Swiss Army knife has a lot of functionality, but it is a jack of all trades and a master of none. If you need to screw in a screw, you will use a dedicated screwdriver. And that's what I feel about the ReMarkable. It does everything that I want. The only thing that I don't like is that it's expensive and it's considerably more fragile than, say, a paper notebook. I could drop a notebook on the ground and it'll be fine. But if I drop my ReMarkable, then it will be painful. And again, that's because of the price. So honestly, I don't know where to stand. The Scribe is out. And if you compare it to the ReMarkable, it only beats it on price. Because if you're only looking at e-reading capabilities, then why are you even considering the ReMarkable in the first place? So that doesn't make any sense. Now, the ReMarkable does note-taking so much better, but when it comes to PDF annotating, both are annoying because they are too laggy and you're better off with an iPad. But if it's simply note-taking, then the ReMarkable Paper Pro wins by a long shot. So now, I've been making notes on this review and I'm ending this video and I'm thinking, should I buy the ReMarkable Paper Pro again? And this time, should I use it for 100 days? on its own to see how I really like it. Now, if you want me to take on this challenge, then let me know down below. As soon as I get one comment asking me to do this, I will do this. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comment section below. I get back to everyone. And if this video was useful, please do a favor for me. Please like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on. This does not cost you anything at all, but it makes such a difference to my channel, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much, and let me know if you want me to do the 100-day review on the ReMarkable Paper Pro. I'm more than happy to do it. I will see you on the next video.